Also, if you don't like it, I'll more than be happy to drink it.
I don't mind it. I've had worse tasting canned cocktails.
Things in my mouth.
Yeah,
sometimes just sucks. Anyway, welcome to What's in the Box podcast. Normally with Zach and Cheryl. However, today we have Brooke. What up, man? How's it going?
What up?
So, how's it going? How's it been?
It's going. It's been. Family life. You know all about that.
No. So, I do have a couple things, however. I'm going to ask you. So, you have a new business venture. I'm going to throw it on here real fast, right away.
Okay.
What's going on with you?
At the moment, it's just maintenance event production. However, it's a huge gray area until one, I get my LLC, and then two, I can actually be defined more as to what I'm doing. And right now, it's a little bit of everything, because, well, that's just kind of how it is at this point in that time. I don't really have the money yet to pay other people to do stuff, so I have to do a little bit of everything. Outside of that, though, I don't do a whole lot either, so you can't complain. All I have to do is basically just create connections with people.
Be like, hey, you like things? I like things.
I know people who do those things.
I know people who like things that you like. You should pay them.
And then I'll just come and hang out and just kind of stand back, let everything happen.
Cool.
No, outside of that, really, it's just kind of, I want to have my own venue at some point, but you got to start somewhere, and this is the easiest place to start.
Good call. So, what is your main thing you're selling besides yourself?
I'll say besides myself, I have to sell. Right now, I'm basically just talking to bars and stuff about setting up shows, comedy shows. Right now, I've talked to a couple people about getting some DJs. Maybe if I want to diversify more, I'll do like acoustics or whatever. I don't want to deal with like heavy metal bands or anything like that. Anything that would
that would lead you down the road of the devil.
Too much equipment. Yeah. Like I don't like a full ass band sounds like right now it just sounds like a headache to do with.
Sounds like
your drummer's half hour late.
Way too much stress that I don't want to deal with.
Your drummer's a half hour late, so now I have to pay back these people or give them some drinks or something.
Or start drumming.
Yeah. It's a lot easier when it's two comedians who have nothing else going on anyway.
And they're never late because they're not doing shit anyway.
Well, a lot of the comedians I work with are usually punctual or they're riding with me, so they're there anyway.
You gotta go out in 4 hours, so I guess we can hang out a little bit.
Dude, I'm so early to those things.
So, I did talk about this on the last one I did with my dad, but just because I haven't told you personally, although we have talked about it briefly. So, you said something.
Oh no.
About a year ago, maybe.
Oh no.
A little bit. You said something to me about a year ago. So, obviously, I've known you a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm a different person than I was even a couple years ago, but definitely in high school, when me and you, or when I was in high school, when you were in high school, when we knew each other.
I'm nervous as to what I might have said a year ago.
No, we were talking about hanging out more and whatever, and I have a thing. I don't know, probably a mental block, I guess. But I have a thing in my head of like people that I knew beforehand, like before, me and my ex-girlfriend broke up, all that, because I'm a different person than I was then. And so like anytime I'm around people that like knew me back then, my brain freaks out, and it's like, well, what do you do? What do you say? Well, do you just like bring up stuff that happened before? Like,
is rehashing anything worth it at this point?
Yeah. It just kind of freaks out. And so me and you had talked, and you were very honest, which I applaud you for. But you were like, hey, like, do you want to be friends with me? In so many words, you were like, do you want to be friends with me, or like no hard feelings if you don't, whatever. And it was the first time that I kind of like thought about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I told you, I was like, no, I just don't know how to like be that person, like how to have that relationship that we did before. Like I just don't know how to do that. And you said, I'm not trying to have a friendship with who you were before. I'm trying to have a friendship with who you are now.
Yeah.
And that like really stuck with me. And I said it to my dad the other day. I was like, I never had somebody like say it like that clear to me, and I never really thought about it. Because like especially like the time frames that me and you knew each other. Mm-hmm. Like I was in high school, you were younger than that, so like we were still on just a basic scale. We were still figuring out like who we are and like what we wanted to do, and life hadn't kind of seeped in a whole lot at that point. So like I don't know, I just never thought about it until you said that, and I was like, yeah, there's no need to fucking go back to that. Like we're adults.
Yeah,
and we can figure it out.
No, if we get drunk and sad one time or whatever, and you want this,
I'm so sorry.
Like we could totally do that, but I definitely
have to drink more.
That too, yeah.
No, but there was, but in that, what I was thinking about that is that personally, from me to you, because I haven't told you this part, but it got me thinking about all the stuff from before, because my mindset was so different then than yours was, in a way of, at that time with the people we had around us, you were very like, no, this is what I like. This is like kind of not really like cemented in who you are, but kind of like, no, this is what I like. This is how I feel.
I was, yeah.
Like a very
arrogant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there were times where I gave you so much shit for it, and looking back on it, I'm like, but I like just went through that, like in my 20s. There's certain similarities in me looking back on things that I gave you shit about then, that I'm like, no, he was right. Like it was fine. Like you shouldn't have been like an asshole to him in that because like you felt that just 10 years later.
Yeah. No, there was, dude, you and I, we were way too emotional to be as close as we were.
Yeah.
Like, good Lord. No, I
So I have. Sorry, I have an important question.
Oh, shoot.
To go with that.
Okay.
So, as you've grown, as you've gotten more into an adult, has your perspective on comedy and the lines in comedy changed? Because your sense of humor relatively has not changed.
Relatively, no. I'm definitely not. I think my humor isn't nearly as toxic as it was. Like, I'm not just, I don't enjoy just any more shock and awe of like just someone saying something terrible. Like that's not, you can't do that. That's not how that works. Even the greats can't just go on stage and say something terrible. Big J. Elkerson can get away with a lot of the stuff he says because he's saying it to the right crowds at the right time.
I agree. And his background.
I was saying a lot of comedians, their credibility comes through their voice, not through their words. So a lot of fans and a lot of just observers can kind of pick up on that right away. Like the joke has to the joke and the writing has to be so obscure, and your tone has to be so unserious for something terrible to just be funny. As soon as you kind of come out or go into the gray lines anymore, it's a little too specific, and we're like, do you mean it? But as far as like what I can consider my view on comedy is concerned, I don't think it's really changed. I just I don't laugh much anymore because it's like, oh yeah, man, that's fucking funny, man. Yeah,
but it can be funny. Is your take on comedy more from that, from more of a like I think it can be better, or more of a standard of funny? Because there are jokes like even like professional comedians have that aren't like rounded out yet, that you can kind of be like, okay, I get where you're going with that, but it's not funny yet. Like I get it. Or is it just like you haven't hit this bell, so like my body doesn't feel like it's funny?
thankfully, I'm in the position where I am around enough other honest, or at least just rude comedians, where they're willing to tell someone, "Hey, that was really funny, but maybe if you did this type of thing." I do my best not to tell anyone how to write because even though I'm like still kind of writing like to myself from time to time, it's not my forte. I've tried going up a few times. That's not my forte. So I do my best to stick to my lane, as it were. Like if someone comes up to me and they're like, "Hey, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think?" I'll do my best to be constructive, and I'll do my best to show as little emotion in as possible, just so I don't come off biased to anyone.
Has there been, even because I know that this has happened to, and I'm not even close to a comedian, I'd like to think, but this has happened to me even watching professional comedians. But if you ever like watch either somebody that you're just watching like local level, or a professional that like they tell a joke or like they're telling a story where you're like, that would have been better if you'd have done this. Like where it rings in your head where you're like, oh, if you'd have done this, like that would have hit.
So I think that's part of the fun of a lot of humor, is that sometimes you genuinely just can think of something that you find funnier. And obviously it's rude if you're just like, hey, you know what would have been funny, like in the middle of their set or something. And I know a lot of them don't necessarily want to hear it after a show, but like you can definitely just keep it to yourself, you know, have that little funny thing in your head, you know, maybe tell a friend later or some shit. But I don't know, as soon as you start approaching anyone's art, they get sensitive.
Yeah. And especially if it's like you said, it depends on your taste in things too. Such as like a tidbit for me or you might be funny to us, but like you put it in with somebody's personality or their voice or whatever, it's not going to be the same thing. It's not going to hit the same. Or even crowds different.
Yeah, crowds, and then the voice part, you can attribute that to almost anything, because Archer wouldn't have been funny if H. John Benjamin wasn't voicing Archer. There's no other voice that could have fit.
That's fair.
That. I don't care what anyone says.
That's what fucked up when Bob's Burgers came out.
Yeah, I was glad they did.
It's because people were so used to Archer's voice that when Bob's Burgers came out, they're like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, it was yeah.
All of a sudden, Archer's making fucking patties. What's going on? So no, you tried getting up on stage, didn't work out.
I did it 4 or 5 times. I had what is jokingly referred to as a B rabbit moment.
Shut off.
I just shut off mentally, and I got off stage and I went and vomited. Like I don't know. Acting's not easier, but having other people on stage to bounce off of is definitely helpful.
I was going to bring that up because I had talked about that with Cheryl a couple days ago. So it's not easier acting than doing comedy. In a sense of there's more pressure, or that with acting you kind of have your set of like, doesn't really matter what the crowd does, like that's what I'm doing.
If you miss,
or is it just different headset?
If you miss a line in your play, people are going to notice because something won't feel right, but your co-star
can pick it up,
can just keep going and be like, you know, hey, we missed that, we missed it, let's keep going. If you miss even just like 3 essential words to a joke, that whole joke is thrown away, the whole room is thrown off, and you can't continue well, unless you're a professional and have been through it before.
I was gonna say, or you admit, hey, we fucked up, we're gonna move on.
Yeah, and a lot of crowds sometimes enjoy that. They're like, oh shit, yeah, all right, let's move on. Like, and a lot of people think, all right, let me just restart it. Because then that kind of just kills it too.
Mm-hmm.
So it all depends on how you slice it, I guess.
I saw a video of a comedian where he did that.
Mm-hmm.
We did it like 4 times, and it was like funny. It was like funny the first the first 1 or 2 times, and then once you got to the 4th one, I'm even like me just watching the video, not even in the crowd, just watching the video. I'm like, dude, either get it or fucking let's go. Come on, like the joke is funny 1 or 2 times. After that, it's not.
Yeah.
So me and you back in the day were in plays, did plays.
Yes, for the wonderful Martin.
Yeah. You did high school plays, as did I. So is that something you enjoyed? Was that like a time? Is that something you enjoyed in the time frame?
It was a good distraction, definitely. I think it helped me more than I maybe felt. I admit all the time that theater and even choir, to an extent, were really helpful in a lot of things. Acting, I feel like I got more out of. Just because I was a better actor than I was a singer.
Got more out of in what way? As far as like personally or like being on stage?
Personally, like being on stage was never exactly the fun part for me, even though. Anyway, everything felt more rewarding in acting, and I'm not sure why. I guess it just always felt that way.
There's a time where we're all doing plays with Martin, where it got to a point, and I'm sure, and I've talked to him over the years, and I'm sure it drove him fucking nuts. I know it drove him nuts while we were doing it, but I feel we hit a sweet spot when all of us, because it was basically all of us together in every play that we did.
Mm-hmm.
There were a few that Martin already had when he was in college. There was a few that me and him worked on throughout the time and kind of pieced together. And then there were ones where we all kind of had input in one way or another. And I feel like at one point we hit a sweet spot where it was all ideas are welcome. And specifically, the last rehearsal, the play, the last rehearsal, specifically that one, because I feel like we had all been in plays together and been around each other for so long that at that point it was like we all kind of know what's going to hit and what isn't, and what our strong suits are and what they aren't.
So I completely agree with you, and I'm kind of glad that was like all of us as a collective our last thing, just because I don't think us as a collective could have gotten any better.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think where that started to go off the tracks is when I don't remember the name of it exclusively. Was that humor one he did where he like had to smack him with pool noodles? I think that one where he really like actually let us do all the input.
Where was the other end?
I think the momentum kind of moved into the last one, and like I think Martin was just like, all right, I guess the last one was more of a team building exercise.
And I was gonna ask you about that's why I brought it up. Was there from an acting or person on stage perspective, was there a freedom in, okay, not only do I have my lines here, but let me try this. Let me see if this is funny. Because I know, at least for me, and I've talked with Martin and AJ about this, with me, there was a lot of freedom in that play specifically because we had all kind of, I mean, not in a mean way, but we had all kind of bit our tongue on a lot of shit that didn't make it into plays or that we weren't allowed to say, or and I've said this over the years now, I understand outwardly now all the stress that we put on Martin because we were not nice. And
you're absolutely
and we put him through a lot of shit and just was like, what's your deal? Why are you so mad? When like looking back on it now, I'm like, dude, I would have fucking screamed at all of you every day. But like we had held our tongue and kind of just let it go for so long that like that play we were able to be like, okay, all the shit that like we've wanted to do in all of these plays because we thought it was funny and we just fucking threw it in there on top of like he would give one for him and one for you at that point too. He would be like, okay, these are the lines, we'll try it this way, and then you get 2 of my way, and then we'll just see where it goes. And those days were the ones that were the best because there were days that we went for like an hour and a half just doing shit that wasn't even on script that like made no sense.
But it felt productive.
Yeah, but it felt like we were figuring shit out.
No, just with line memorization alone, I pissed Martin off so often. Like we don't even have to add like the personal out of stuff. Like just no. The amount of times he looked at me just like disapprovingly, but was like, I got no one else.
We're gonna work through it. We're gonna figure it out.
And we did. I don't think I ever disappointed him with my overall performance with something.
There's a moment that I was gonna say a different word. I think about on and off over the years where we went to the PAC, and there's a moment where we did the show, and we're all sitting up there for the Q&A thing or whatever, and it was, I don't know how to word that. I wouldn't say it was the first time that I realized like that we were like this was a team thing.
Yeah,
but Martin was answering questions, all of us were sitting up there, and I saw like the anxiety on you because like you were sitting there and like you were bouncing your leg and you were like this and like kind of sitting there and whatever, and it had never occurred to me ever that like, oh, like this isn't normal for people, like
anxiety.
No, like being in front of like more than a couple people.
Oh,
and, like,
yeah,
like not knowing what to say and like being the nervous part of it. That had never occurred to me because like from a very young age, like you put me on a stage, I don't get nervous, like,
or at least with a microphone.
Yeah, like I don't. It's not really an anxiety thing, and it was the first time just looking down and seeing you that I'm like, oh shit, that's right. Like, like
some people aren't okay with this all
like this shit kind of makes people nervous sometimes. It's just something that because I can clearly see it. Like you, like a few rows down, like I can clearly see it every now and then. And
a mile away, I saw your fucking leg.
The whole fucking stage was moving, and I wanted to know why. And it was just you down there. So, with that, how has your anxiety and everything been over the years?
So my anxiety is still my anxiety. It'll never like go away.
Damn it.
I've been on the occasional med. I've stuck to one for a while because it seems to help the most. I'm actually soon gonna get like full blown, just like tested for all that BS. You know, something a parent should have done when I was younger, but that's neither here nor there.
Nah. Wait till we're adults. We can do it ourselves.
I'm hoping maybe that that'll bring a couple things to light, and they can maybe readjust my meds to help it be a little more beneficial. But the first roast I put on, I had to end up hosting because somebody dropped out, and then the person who was going to host had to fill in. It was this whole thing. But that was absolutely nerve-wracking. I got through it, and that's all I needed to do. But holy...
You just need to keep the train moving.
Yeah, basically. I can see why Chris Farley did cocaine. Honestly. Like, if he had the anxiety and the depression that people say he had, I can see why that was just... All right, let's go!
Deal.
Respect, R.I.P. A great one for sure.
My bad. So, has it been different as you've grown up and as you've had kids and everything, or is it kind of just kind of the same?
It's the same. I don't have to focus on it so much anymore. High school, during the summer or whatever, you have nothing to focus on as a teenager, so you just think about how sad your life is.
And now you have kids
And
to think
now I
about
have to
how
create
sad,
a good life.
how sad their life is.
And now I have to create a good life, so I can't sit there worrying about what mine was like.
So
I've been told I shouldn't do that in general, but that's easier said than done.
don't tell me what to do, Mom. So
stop playing with yours. I want you playing with mine.
Sorry, I can't stop. It's like a fidget thing. I don't know. Anyway, I do it all the time. Anyway, so have you done? What's the word? Have you done introspective work on your brain?
So I've run into the same problem that I hear a lot of people run into.
I don't like therapy.
It's not that I don't even like it, because it's nice to, literally have a free space to kind of just, you want to say something a little unhinged, say something a little unhinged. It's just every solution that...
I don't like white people. They fucking annoy me. What the shit? And your therapist's going to be like, yeah, right, me too.
Don't get me wrong. All the ladies that I've been put with, they've been amazing and everything. It's just they tell me stuff that I already know. I just don't know how to implement, and they can never seem to give me a way to implement it, which isn't their fault. They could be, and I'm just not picking up on it.
Have you thought at all about like things you want to do different now that you have kids? Or is it kind of just the main focus of like, I just don't want them to have what I have? Or is there like thought of like, hey, I don't want this thing to happen?
So my father Bryce told me once, he said, you're going to fuck up your kids no matter what. If you pick how you do it, there's less chance it's going to be out of your control. So
that's fair.
I took that really to heart, and I was like, all right, how can I fuck up my kids without really fucking up my kids? So
in the least traumatic way possible.
The way I've done it is I don't care too much about movies or TV.
Mm-hmm.
As long as there's no sexual violence and no explicit nudity, I can explain everything that's going on the TV. If he has a question, or if he says something stupid, I can be like, hey, chill out a little bit. Let me tell you why this isn't okay for you to do in the real world. Music, I think music is almost every parent's given, just like, because their parents are going to listen to the shit they grew up with, and it's just going to be this vicious cycle. I'm not genuinely sure how I should feel about food these days, because like part of me is dead ass like, it's so much cheaper just to go to McDonald's real quick.
No shit.
But also like, I have groceries at home, and like those apparently don't have all the additives that McDonald's has. Apparently, and it's like,
that's why I do both. I can go to McDonald's, but also I got frozen pizzas. So
can I be honest with you about some like parent guilt? We do that a little too often. Like there'll be times where like, well, we really want Mexican food, but they don't really eat Mexican food like that. So let's just make them a pizza, and we'll order from Los Tacos down the road or some shit.
There was a good stretch there where Wyatt would only eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, which was great for me because I was like, dude, you can have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich real quick, and I can go to McDonald's and we'll be just fine. Like,
doesn't help that it's walking.
But then, no. But also there are times. No, see, this is how fucked up it is too, because it is in walking distance, and there are times that like I'll be like, I really don't want a frozen pizza, but McDonald's would be nice. So I'll have shit in the fridge and be like, yeah, but I don't really want to cook it, and then I gotta turn on the oven.
First world
problems. And like I say that all the time.
First world problems.
I say that all the time. I'm like, man, if other countries could really see like how lazy this shit is,
yeah,
be like frozen pizzas, We don't even have clean water, and you're worried about turning on an oven?
I've turned myself off from how lazy I've been before. Like I'm genuinely like, you're disgusting.
You're gross.
No woman, man should ever want you sexually because you're a disgusting pig.
Yeah, and then there are other days that you look yourself in the mirror and you're like, that was a lie. Everybody wants you. The moment you step out of this house, birds are chirping. Speaking of, though, have you ever had those moments?
Few and far between. Few and far between.
Between, you're right.
Yeah. But I think that's
confidence-wise.
Oh, I'm told from time to time that I'm like really cocky, and like I know I have been at times, but I'm also like I don't know where it comes from because like, I don't hear it happen. I'm just told later, and I'm like, oh, all right, cool. I was cocky. All right.
You're right. I was good looking today. Thanks, me.
But like Heather and my bros and you know randoms will be like, oh hey, you know, I like that shirt. You know, like I'll get compliments. It's not like it's I know I'm not fucking out here scaring the hose or nothing. I don't know what confidence looks like.
I feel that.
Yeah.
No.
For real. You and your wife basically have a softcore OnlyFans on Facebook.
That's not fair.
What do you mean that's not fair? I guess that's your wife. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
If there's anyone who's going to give you confidence, it's going to be your fucking wife.
No, but seriously, though, I mean, I will say that, though. I will, although people are probably tired of me talking about how great my wife is. But I will say that, though. It does help.
If people are tired of you talking about how great your wife is, either have a shitty
wife.
They either have shitty wives.
That's what, okay.
Or they're just hating.
Okay, see, that's what I've said. Well, I'm going to go back first. So, that's something that, like, I never really had. I had a, like, facade of false confidence.
Sure. Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, for a long time. Because, like, I've always been, like, a bigger guy. And, like, I've never really had, like, that straight up, like, yeah, I look good, like, confidence-wise. But I knew how to fake it. And so I do that. I did that for a really long time. Mm-hmm. And then it wasn't until I got...
It made you really sad behind closed doors.
It did. Because I had the opposite, where I would look in the mirror and be like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
The whiplash I'd get sometimes from hanging out with you at the church, then we get to your place and you're just like, boom.
It was like, oh. But also for that, are we good, bud? Are we okay?
Thought we was having a good time.
But also, it's just a social battery, too. I just can't. And over the years, I've kind of curbed that and really understood that about myself.
That's an important one.
And that's kind of where my anxiety goes with like people that I used to know from then too, is because that's why I would drop so hard, is because like who I was then wasn't who I'm more who I was then now than I was then. Like as far as like my personality and things I enjoy and things I find funny and like things like that, I'm more of that now than I was then, because then I was playing into kind of who I thought people wanted me to be or the people I was around. Like I've told a story on here where I was told by somebody that like you would make a really good pastor for me.
Oh yeah.
Me that I would. And instead of like questioning that, instead of being like, well, do I want to do that? Like, is that a thing that like interests me or anything like that? I just took it as, oh, they want me to do this. So my brain just switched it to, okay, so this is the person that they want to see for me. Mm. And that's kind of how that whole thing was just built. It was just me just pulling things from the people around me and the friends I had. Like even personality traits, even things that I found funny, which is why like looking back on it now, there were a lot of things in you and in your personality that I have that at the time I was like, that's fucking dumb. Like for you, but looking back on it, I'm like, I would have said the same thing. But so like anyway, so going from that to now is that over that time, I was so focused on putting on this face of like, this is what everybody wants to see, that when it would be just me or me and somebody else, my social battery from having to keep that wall up the whole time would just be like,
Mm-hmm.
it was fucking draining, like for the longest time. And it wasn't until I figured that out about myself that I was really able to be like, oh, okay, so this is how we can kind of at least mentally like remind ourselves of like, oh, okay, so you don't have to do this. You don't have to put forth, and it's one of the things that I've been really conscious of as I get older is what I put my energy into.
Mm-hmm.
I put so much energy for the longest time into making people like me or keeping up a face of what people wanted to see or whatever that was just unnecessary looking back on it. Like I've said this to Cheryl, I look back on it and I go, what was the point really of having all those people like want to like me? Like there was really no point in other than the fact that I wanted everybody to like me and that was how I knew how to do it. Like there are a few people that I do and did have genuine relationships with, like Martin and Courtney and a couple other people. And some of that wasn't a mess. Some of that was genuinely my personality, and we kind of connected on things or whatever. But as far as like everybody else around me, that I'm like, when the whole thing happened with Katie, and everybody from the church kind of dropped me, and kind of was just like, we don't want to hear your side, whatever. You're just a bad person. Paraphrasing, but like whatever. When all that happened, and I lost people, my life did not change. Like I wasn't. There were a few that hurt, but even a couple years ago, 10 years ago, even then, I was like, okay, like it wasn't really like a deep cut. Yeah. It wasn't until I went through that I was like, why was I spending so much time on something that doesn't even like affect me like that? Like if I was putting energy into that, you'd think that like you not wanting to be my friend or not wanting to talk to me would hurt more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like now that's what I put energy into. That's why I like doing these. That's why I like hanging out with people that I like hanging out with, is because I put more energy into the things that make me happy rather than just random shit.
Right. That's kind of I feel like that's kind of the irony of me doing all this promotion work, going out and talking to people, because I hate being at bars. I hate how loud the music is. I hate how
you're a grumpy old man.
I really am a grumpy old man. Like I do my best, keep a smile on my face. I'm going around saying hi to everybody, but like Heather can pick up on it so quickly. She's like, he's ready to go, and we're only halfway through the fucking show. Like we didn't even get to after the show yet. I'm like, all right. Can I go now?
Can we? I did my thing.
I did my part.
I'm not here for you.
Which sucks because I have a few comedians who I love dearly and would love to just stay and listen to every drop of material they have. There's just something in my brain that just can't do it. And I'm just like, I want to go home. Heather, take me home. I will pay everyone so much gas money to figure out their ways home. I don't want to do it.
I just do not want to be here anymore.
But that's part of it, and I'm sure eventually, if I just keep kind of beating that drum, eventually I'll find the rhythm for it.
So, me knowing most of your background.
Sure.
So, how did it feel becoming a dad? Obviously you're a dad twice now.
Yes.
But that
proof I've had sex twice.
Only twice.
Only the twice.
That's it. How did it feel becoming a dad? I know that me and you have talked about this kind of briefly.
I was so excited Very, very.
Until I had to see it, and then there was no excitement.
A lot of the
after that.
excitement got sucked out of the room when Heather. So if we're talking about Howard, the first one,
Mhm.
once we realized she had to go in for an emergency C-section, a lot of that joy got sucked, and I was like, okay.
You automatically go into protection of like, okay, what do we got to do?
Not and like to a point, not even that, because like I knew I wasn't gonna be able to cut her open and take a kid out or anything.
All right, back up.
So
let me get in there.
It felt even worse because like I knew I couldn't do anything, so I had to hope she was gonna be fine on the table. I had to hope he was gonna be fine getting pulled out of her. Yada yada yada. But basically, it was just a lot of anxiety. She was gagging a lot because she had water beforehand. Beeps just kept going on. Every beep that went off, I was like, "Oh, is she dying?" I'm like, no, that's the heart. That's the
oxygen. No, that's the heart. It's like, supposed to be. It's supposed to be beeping. Dude, I've said that. I said that the last time that we were in the hospital. There's no way I would be able to spend my entire life listening to beeps.
And there's people who do it at McDonald's.
I don't get it. Like, I would put them on silent. To
the like, there's people out there saving lives, and they suffer through those beeps. What about the people at McDonald's? What are they doing?
Or
are they?
Do you think that they actually wake up to like normal alarms? I've thought about this. So if you are a nurse and you listen to heart beeps and stuff all the time, and you know how the like generic alarm is just like, beep, yeah. Beep, do you think they even wake up to that? Because their brain is so used to fucking beeps.
Man, I can't. I just imagine they don't sleep well ever. Like even if they have like a week off, I can't imagine that those nights off are like well.
You want to hear a psycho that I used to work with, and I can say that because of what I'm about to tell you. This grown-ass man would fall asleep to that. He had hospital recordings,
like of the beep
of surgery, like like people in surgery, like the beeps and stuff, and like the scalpels, and like he used to fall asleep to that.
Good.
Fucking psychotic.
There's a lot of noises I'd fall asleep to outside of anything beeping.
I can't.
I hear Heather breathing sometimes, like normal breathing, and I'm like, will you shut up?
I can't. I cannot. It drives. So that's part of the reason why I sleep with a fan on. But I cannot. My ears are so tuned in to everything around me that even like there are times where I can kind of like drown out like Cheryl snoring or like the kid, like Wyatt, because he still sleeps with us, like Wyatt like doing his little mouth noises and shit in his sleep. It's fucking obnoxious. Fucking obnoxious. Anyway, but like I can drown that out, right? Because I'm like just so in the zone of like trying to fall asleep. And then something will happen, like the fucking fan will kick on, or like the cat will like just hit something out here. And my bedroom's right there. That like immediately when my brain hears it, then I'm up. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, I get you there.
Like there are times that like we'll be in the bedroom, everybody's asleep. We'll be in there for like an hour. And I'll like wake Cheryl up and I'll be like, I'm getting up. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, I can't sleep. She's like, what do you mean you can't sleep? I was like, I can't. You're able to sleep. I'll leave you alone. But like I can't lay here in the dark. Not sleeping.
That's the same. Yeah, same in our house. Yeah, Heather, once she's asleep, is a rock. I'm under the confirmation, under the belief that women need women's intuition because their ears genuinely don't work. Because Heather will be like, "Oh, was she making sounds?" Like, what do you mean? Like she was sitting at the door, like bah, 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 bah. Like you didn't hear that? No. Like okay. But Heather can like pick up on like if she's 2 rooms away and like potentially playing with something she's not. She's like, oh, what's she doing in there? Like, how do you pick up on that? But you can't like, come on now.
The fucking it was the same thing with Cheryl too with the cat, because our cat that we just had to put down, he used to scratch at the door. And there were times where like I would come home from work, I'd go in, lay down, just before she started cross guarding. Lay down, almost asleep. and he wouldn't stop until you acknowledged him, right? And so with the kid in there, you can't acknowledge him because then the kid's gonna wake up, and then everybody's fucking awake.
Mm-hmm.
So there are times that like he's scratching at the door, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay, if I ignore him, he'll go away. If I ignore him, he'll go away. If I ignore him, it's scratching. I'll be like, fine, okay. I'll get up and I'll just sleep fucking later, I guess. And I go to get up, and Cheryl will wake up and be like, what's going on? Why are you getting up? Bitch!
Woke up to that.
Because I've been here listening to scratching for the last fucking 15 minutes while you're dead ass asleep. Well, it's fine. I'll get up. It's okay. It's fine. So I am going. I was going to word that different. That sounded weird in my head. So, not just because she's here. I can tell her to leave if you really want. How does it feel being with Heather?
So I'm going to tell you this because her and I just recently had this conversation.
Did you tell her that you were going to be nice when you came here? So you.
I actually told her, hey, just in case he brings up something. We'll talk about it later. Just know that we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about separation later. Don't make a scene.
Don't make a scene during the pod. I told her the story about how, because obviously back in the day, you're aware of this because you're the one who said it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Very shallow.
Uh-huh.
I had a lot of ideas in my head of what I knew, quote unquote, I was going to be getting myself into.
Mm-hmm.
I told her the other day, I was like, you know what Zach used to tell me back in the day? She was like, what? I was like, he used to joke all the time whenever I'd make a fat girl joke. He was like, you know what? One day you're going to end up with a girl who's big or was big or thinks like a big girl. And like, you're going to have to deal with that. Had to be big.
Deal with that
Something
shit.
had to be big. And,
yep.
And like, I fell in love with Heather at a very weird time for her and for me. And
I met you at a very weird time.
Once I realized I loved her and I wasn't going anywhere, I was like, I got to tell you this story. And then she was like, well, that makes me feel good. I'm like, you're not even really like that big. It was just like a funny thought. And it was like this 2-month fight. And then I was like,
no, not you. No, not you.
I just was going to be with someone who was big.
No, not you. Just like in the general sense.
It's I love her to death. She's done amazing things especially after the 2 kids, to get her body where she wants it to be and to feel comfortable and beautiful. So nice. I'm really proud of her for that. I mostly just due to anxiety and depression have been on like a calorie deficit for the past few months. So I've dropped some weight. I don't mind if I do, but probably not the healthiest. She at least has like a physically laborful job and is like,
you're just like, hey, I lost some weight.
I'm just at the house with the kids, just like not forcing myself not to eat ice cream at 10 in the morning. You don't need it yet.
No, we don't. We can wait until 7.
Wait until lunch at least. Give yourself till lunch before you take out the ice cream.
So, given your dating record,
okay.
So, was it different, or was it kind of obviously it was different because like
was what different?
You're still with her.
What was what?
No, like when you met her. Sorry, no. Although if you want to talk about that, we can. That's not really where I was going with it.
I will respect her autonomy and not do that.
No, I mean like the difference between like being in a relationship with other people versus her. Because I would assume that like maybe I'm wrong, but I would assume like a big hang up, at least from what I've seen when we were hanging out all the time, is I wouldn't say comedy, but your personality traits kind of got to mesh with somebody for them to really like understand you. You get what I'm saying?
A coworker of mine, I've known it my whole life. I've had people tell me my whole life. It's one of those moments where like not a random person, but like someone who's not really in the fold yet is like, hey, you do this, and you're like, oh shit, I really do. Like, I found out recently that I come off extremely strong to people because I'm so willing to like give people whatever love I can give them at the time. And so like there's one or maybe a handful of people in my life who have like immediately like attached to that and like we're like, yeah, dude, we're gonna be friends and shit.
Have you ever had somebody come up to you and say, you're going to be my best friend without you knowing it? like with you being like, yeah, that dude's really cool. And you're like, dude, we're best friends.
I tried doing that to someone when I first moved to Seymour and it didn't end up well to me. Granted, that's a whole thing. But no, I'm not everyone's cup of tea. And I've learned that very thoroughly over the last decade or so. And it's not only helped me kind of wean out the people who like just kept hanging out with me because they felt they needed to. But it was kind of what also helped me want to keep Heather around was that she, like, for the most part, she genuinely enjoys the things that most people find weird. But even then, a lot of the, smaller shit that a lot of, especially women, also find weird, she is completely cool with. I still know a lot of women to this day who is, as soon as a man puts on anything cartoon, it's just, nope, done, I'm out. And I can't say forced because she'll sit there, but she's watched Family Guy through I don't know how many times and did it with a smile on her face.
She at least won't go to the next room. So
yeah, well, I mean, that's also part of her anxiety. She don't like being alone either, but she won't go to the next room because she don't want to.
But no, I'm fine here. But she'll also chuckle a couple times, so there's that.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of times it's when I laugh. Like she's either finding my laugh funny at the time or she's just kind of mirroring. Like, yeah, that's funny.
She's not finding it funny. Yeah. She's making fun of you in her head.
Yeah.
Like,
dumbass, you found that funny?
Fucking dope-ass laugh. So, because I've said this about me and Cheryl, and which... Fuck, that's not the word I wanted to use. Fucking words are like escaping me today, and it's really English fucking bothering me. Terrible, it's fucking, it's annoying. Normally, I'm really good with words. Anyway, but like, so I've said this about me and Cheryl, is that was one of the things that kind of stuck out when me and Cheryl first got together and first started dating, is that her dark sense of humor kind of fit in with mine. Whereas like there were even friends for that matter, but past relationship friends or whatever, like I would make like a joke or like comment or whatever, and they'd be like, like even if they didn't say it, like with their eyes, they'd be like, what the fuck are you talking? But like with her, it was different because like she either would make it before I could or would laugh at it. And that was one of the things that like when we first got together that I really appreciated and kind of helped me come out of that, like hiding that part of me, because I was like, oh, somebody finds this funny. So worst case scenario, at least she finds it funny.
I don't think women really understand how much it means to most guys to just be funny to them.
Yeah.
Like I would genuinely not care if I was funny to anyone else. If I made Heather laugh all the time, I'd be completely content with that idea.
Or even just understood. I've said this before. Even understood, like as a guy, like just feel understood. Like even if you as a woman like don't agree, or like even if you think it's weird, like just an understanding of like, oh, that's cool that you like that you feel that way, or that you think that, or that just something, just feeling heard instead of being like,
it's the negativity for me. It's when people feel the need to just be negative about something when you really don't need to be.
Or the man thing that bothers me. Or the like, you're a guy, why would you like that?
Oh yeah,
like that sort of thing. That bothers me. Just because I'm like, just because I've met more manly, in my opinion, more manly men that like in or are into like quote girly things than I have manly men. Like, you know what I mean? Like, in my experience, there are exceptions, but in my experience, the generic like manly men that I've met, like, okay, that's fucking generic, but like goes hunting, like likes trucks, back roads, like shit like that.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Are like super toxic in that way. Like
They definitely can be, yeah.
Have very like for the most part though. I mean, like I said, there are exceptions, but like have that very misogynistic like view of like women and the household and what a man should be and stuff like that. Whereas the opposite, the guys that I've met that are kind of more jokey and like stuff like that have more of a respectful view and untoxic way of looking at things. That makes sense. Like as far as like relationships and stuff go.
I guess my only thing as far as that could be is one, when you come from an area that we come from, alcohol is a huge play on it.
Yeah, no shit.
As far as like, you know, if you did grow up on a farm, good chance that your dad or parents both drank the shit out of themselves because they were sad they weren't making enough or they were just doing too much fucking work.
And everybody mimics, every child mimics that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Which is one of the things that like over the years I've seen, and I've tried to work on that with my kids, is that not that, and I've said this many times, and I've even had many conversations with my parents about this. My parents are great parents. We're great parents. And I have no real complaints about my upbringing.
Sure.
But there are things, because of their generation and the way that they did, there are things that did affect us and my siblings in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not their fault.
No.
They did, and over time, I've said this to both my parents, over time, and especially with me having kids, I've also learned as an adult that like nobody does that shit really on purpose. No. For the most part.
Yeah.
For the most part, parents don't like, I'm gonna fuck up my kid today.
Yeah.
Like they're basically just doing the best of what they have or what their knowledge is.
Yeah.
So as I've grown older and had kids, I've kind of taken the parts that me as a child was like, I don't really like that. And I've taken that and been like, okay, so I'm not going to do this. And I'm going to try to do this. And I'm going to try to like affect my kids this way. And I feel like that is something that is, I feel, somewhat lost in some people because they're just focused on, well, my dad before me or my grandpa before me did it this way, so this is how we raise kids. Instead of trying to not, I guess, break the cycle in a way of we want to be better, not just the same as we've always been. And there are things that don't always work, and there are things that we try, which is a part of growing and learning. And that's why I go back to, and I've said this many times, that's why I cut slack to a lot of parents, because we're all just trying. Like, we're all just figuring it out as we go. Like, nobody, like I said, nobody fucking wakes up in the morning and goes, we're going to fuck up our kids today.
Yeah.
How do you think we want to do it? Is there anything since you become a dad that you've thought about that, or you've thought about like even a general sense of like, I don't want to do this, or I don't want this to happen?
I mean, I think as a parent, you don't want a lot of things to happen to your kids. I think the biggest, like, if I have to take it from my life and my perspective, is there was a huge amount from as early as I can remember, there was a huge amount of sexuality around me. And it was never discussed to me in an appropriate manner or in the, that'd be the same thing, or in the right manner. So I do my best to find that balance of communicating and explaining things to Howard in a way that not only he can understand, but also that maybe gives him a different look on it. And maybe that's to an extent not a good parenting thing. I just when he asks how he's made, I don't plan on saying, "Oh, a stork brought you." I'm gonna be like, "Hey, this me and mom, we had this act.
Me and mom had a good night one night.
We had a good night one night.
She liked me.
We fought really hard.
We fought really hard. And then you came.
But like, it was every corner that I remember in my life when it came to the SEX conversation, the SEX lifestyle. It was never handled appropriately. So by the time I had to handle myself appropriately, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
I tell this story. Forgive me if I haven't told this story on here. I'm pretty sure I have though. But so I had this conversation with my sister.
Mm-hmm.
So my older sister, her son.
I figured Tiff.
Yeah. Her son started having sex, right? And so me and her were talking, or like got to the age of like asking about it and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so she called me and we were talking about it, and she's like, I just wanted to ask, like, I just don't know how to handle this, like as a girl, like with a boy, I don't know how to have this conversation. And I was like, I got no input for you. She's like, why? I was like, I never got that talk. She's like, what? I was like, one time. I was like, I never got the sex talk. The furthest sex talk I ever got was my dad. One, this is like 2 weeks apart from each other. We went to homecoming. No talk. My dad drug dealed a condom into my hand. Like as I'm leaving, was like, all right, have a good night. Like condom in hand.
Show your mom.
Didn't say anything about it, like how to use it, what it was for. Like obviously, like I was old enough, I knew what it was for, but like right. no talk whatsoever, right? And then the next week, he told me and my brother, "There's a box of condoms up there. If you need them, just grab some. It's not a big deal." That was the extent of my sex talk, and like, it's whatever. But I told my sister, I was like, so like, I don't know what to tell you. But I was like, but I will say that because of that, I had no thought of protection, of getting a girl pregnant, of STDs, or nothing. I didn't, and this is the part where when I told her this, she's like, "Are you fucking kidding me? I have never worn a condom. Not one time. Not one time my entire life. Not one." Which is scary looking back on it now.
Very scary looking back on it now.
But I like never, like that never registered in my head. Like I had seen, obviously, like we took sex ed, so I had seen like what happens when you don't wear a condom and all the diseases and shit. But I legitimately in my brain thought that'll never happen to me, and I kept that. It wasn't until, so this is kind of like a little inside baseball. So my ex-girlfriend, we thought when we were together, mm-hmm. that she couldn't get pregnant. Mm-hmm. And so me, never wearing a condom, I was like, it's not a big deal. For me, you can't get pregnant. I don't need to wear a condom. Not a big deal, right?
Right.
It wasn't until she just got pregnant that my brain was like, oh shit. Like, that was when the light bulb went off. It wasn't the sex beforehand. It wasn't the girlfriends I had sex with before her. It wasn't any of that shit. It was the moment that I found out that she was pregnant where the light bulb went off in my head and was like, oh fuck. Like, that's like a thing. Like that could have been a thing.
It wasn't getting married to a woman who has 2 children already.
Nope. That wasn't it.
I was like, oh, you got roommates. Come on in.
And
yeah, cool.
And Cheryl fucking laughed at me, too, because I told her that. When I found out, I was like, oh, fuck. She's like, what? I was like, it just clicked in my head. Like, after 20-some years, my brain was like, yeah, this is why, dummy. But going back to what you're saying, though, about, like, talking about sex and stuff. But because of that, that was one of the things that me and Cheryl have talked about. Especially, and we've been pretty open with the girls about like talking about sex, and obviously, like, I'm a very sexual person. I love their mom, so like they know that. Like they've been, and I don't really hide. That was one of the things. That was one of the things that used to bother me about like married couples, is that they would hide how much they
Liked each other.
yeah, they liked each other around children. Like that always used to bother me, like, especially your children. Like I kind of understand other people's children because you don't know like how like they're raising whatever. But it always used to bother me when they would do that around their own children. Like, wouldn't you want them to know like how much
their parents love each
Yeah.
other? Yeah. No, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
So obviously like the girls know, and we've been pretty open about that. But I told Cheryl that was one of the things that like is embedded in my head when Wyatt gets older, is to like actually like talk about it.
Yeah.
So like he knows, because like that's even more. I would like to say even more so when he gets older than when I was having sex.
Because it's going to be an idea of how he's supposed to treat his future.
Yeah.
Wife. Yeah.
That it's more of a like he should want these things. Like he should, and I've told the girls that too, is that they should want backup. That it's not, you're not being a bitch for having high expectations. You should want somebody who is going to do these things for you. You should want somebody who is going to treat you nice. They don't have to treat you like a princess. They don't have to do the theoretical, like, hold the door, carry you to the fucking car, like that shit. But
yeah,
you should expect more than, hey, get in, let's go. Like, you know what I mean? And setting that expectation, I think, is important. And I think hiding that from your children is more of a detriment, especially with daughters, but with sons too. Like they also need to learn how to treat women as a whole.
The only indicator I have that I'm doing right by that is that Howard very frequently tells Heather how beautiful she is. Like whether it's coming out of bed, whether she just spent an hour and a half doing her makeup, like he's usually like, "Mama, you look so beautiful," and I can look at Heather and be like, "Fucking welcome." I say it to you all the time, and now he says it to you. We're welcome. And she's like, "Whatever."
Yeah, bud, get her. She don't listen to me.
She don't listen to me. You tell her how beautiful she is. God damn it.
So I had this conversation. We'll wrap it up here pretty soon.
Okay.
But I had this conversation with somebody at work. I wanted your opinion because you have a son. And from what I know, pretty relative in the same vein. So Wyatt is a very loving person.
Yes.
Very.
Yes.
Like with everybody. And I have trouble because I want to preserve that as much as possible.
But also put some wits in him.
And not in a way of like, I don't want him to stay a child forever. Not that way.
Yeah.
I mean, like, as a boy growing up to be a man, I want him, because I'm a very loving person. And I understand the benefit of that, especially being a man in that way. I want to preserve that loving personality that he has without destroying that in a way of like, you need to be able to also have that protective side as well. Because I've had this conversation with many people of, that is my line as far as masculinity goes, is that you don't need to be the person that's going to have a fight in a bar every night. You don't need the person that's going to be super aggressive. I'm not that person.
No.
But I have the potential, if I know that in me. I've been in fights before.
Yeah.
But like I have the ability to do, I said it in this way. The ability to do violence has to be there. Not the want to do violence. And it's difficult for, I mean, he's 4, so I still got some time. But it's difficult for me mentally to curate how to preserve that loving part that he has and try to kind of move into like, okay, but you still need like this part of you. Because I think it's important, because I feel like when you grow up, especially as a boy, not having that, the world chews you up. Like I've seen it. Without that part of you that has that protectiveness,
Mm-hmm.
the world chews you up or just uses you because you are too, quote, soft. So throwing that to you.
So I feel like there's two ways you can look at it, where I'm sure there's so many other ways you can look at it. Two ways I see is you can either do what most of our generation's parents didn't do and let the world screw them over and let them know that no matter what, they have a place where support will be.
Safe
Not
space.
always. No, I don't like that. But a place where, if they need to come back for a couple weeks or whatever, regroup, fucking come on back. Life isn't this. Life's a marathon. Take a break. Motherfuckers do it all the time.
Drink some water. Have a sandwich.
Or you could go the opposite end of that route and
just beat the shit out of them. See, this is the route.
I don't remember exactly how the proverb goes, but it basically just you'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. So, like, if you just teach them, hey, you can still do this, but if you don't have this on your side, you're going to be screwed.
Poll, by the way. Good job.
It's you either got to learn how to tough them up at home so that they can do it out there, which I think sensitive guys like us are capable of doing. I think we're capable of telling them, hey, act this way. Yeah, as to where sometimes a little more. How do I want to word that? Blue collar family, if you will. They're gonna teach it to you, and you're either gonna be a functioning adult or you're gonna be
a functioning alcoholic. Yeah, one of the two. Yeah. You're gonna be functioning in some way or another. Anyway, so we'll wrap it up. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem.
I've been waiting fucking forever for this, dog. I was so hyped. I called Heather as soon as you texted me. I was like, I finally got on. I finally did it. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but I got on.
Yeah, so I do want to say that, though, because it was really funny. So the whole time I knew what I was going to talk to you about, but, like, all last week, I was like, okay, so I need to, like, throw some little shit in here, like, to fill up time. And I was like, what? Like, I could probably, like, and I was going back and forth. I was like, nah, we'll figure it out. It'll be fine. And then today, when I woke up, I was like, shit, like,
I didn't figure it out.
I didn't figure it out. I gotta, like, if there's no back and forth here, I got about 2 minutes worth of things to talk about.
2 minutes. 2 minutes of good quality content.
No, it was fun. I appreciate it. I'll probably do it again, actually, to be quite honest. Because tons of shit I could talk to you about.
Definitely.
And I appreciate, although I've said it multiple times, I'll say it again. I appreciate the fact that you held on to me and still wanted to, like, be a part of my life in whatever way.
Whether I liked it or not, you had a little too much influence for me to just, like, at the rip be like, all right, you. Whatever, fuck
like,
you.
Fuck you. No, but, like, even in a way of, like, I've said this. I said this to Cheryl, actually, when we first started talking again. After everything, I said this to Cheryl. I was like, it's really weird. There are people that have kind of calmed down from the situation before, when, like, people dropped me and left or whatever. Kind of calmed down, and been like, hey, you want to hang out, whatever. And I've kind of just been like, meh. And it's not really that big a deal, but for some reason, and I said this to Cheryl, I was like, maybe one day I'll deep dive into this and really figure it out. But for some reason, when you started messaging me again, I was just like, finally, like, there was a thing that there was like an internal thing where I was like, good, like, this is a good thing to have. Like, even in my whole, like, I'm not wasting energy on things that don't feed me internally. Like, the friendship, the thought of a friendship with you was, like, something that my body was like, this is good. Like, this is good.
It's good, nice and hard.
Yeah. Already there. I've been there. That's why it's the fucking
half shaft.
This curtain is there. No, it's full. No, it's
no, she's full.
No, let me back up.
This table only has 3 legs. There's a fourth one holding it up.
I've been holding it up the whole
time.
Anyway, I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man.
Love you.
All right, I gotta piss. That's why I've been freaking out. Bathroom right there, right?